วัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีครับพบกันเช่นเคยนะครับนี่คือ The Diplomat ทาง Spring News กับคุณทันชนกจงยศยิ่งและผมวารินทร์ สัจเดลวันนี้เราสองคนนั่งรอสัมภาษณ์ท่านทูตแคนาดาประจำประเทศไทยใน Reading Room ที่บ้านท่านเลยนะครับ
ใช่ค่ะก็มีหนังสือเยอะนะคะและที่สำคัญเนี่ยภายในบ้านพักของท่านเนี่ยโอ้โหดูอบอุ่นแล้วก็เต็มไปด้วยธรรมชาติ
บ้านหลังนี้เก่าแก่ไม่ต่ำกว่า35ปีนะครับแล้วก็ธรรมชาติภายนอกบ้านกับภายในบ้านเนี่ยผสมกลมกลืนกันเป็นหนึ่งเดียวมากเลยนะครับแล้วก็นี่คือห้องอ่านหนังสือเพราะว่าทั้งท่านทูตและภริยาเนี่ยและทั้งครอบครัวเนี่ยรักการอ่านหนังสือลูกสาวคนโตเนี่ยเขียนหนังสือเล่มนี้เป็นกวีนะครับ
ใช่ค่ะ
เป็นบทประพันธ์
แต่ว่าตอนนี้นะคะเราจะไปทำความรู้จักกับท่านเอกอัครราชทูตแคนาดาประจำประเทศไทยท่านทูตฟิล แคลเวิร์ตกันก่อนค่ะ
รวมถึงเพลงนี้นะครับที่มีความหมายมากๆสำหรับท่านทูตแคนาดาประจำประเทศไทยเพราะว่าท่านมอบเพลงนี้ให้กับภริยาของท่านครับ
Where the earth shows its bones of wind-broken stone and the sea and the sky are one
The Diplomat เทปนี้ขอพาท่านไปรู้จักกับท่านทูตแคนาดาประจำประเทศไทยท่านทูตฟิลิป แคลเวิร์ตซึ่งท่านเป็นคนที่มีอัธยาศัยดีและมีความเชี่ยวชาญในด้านภูมิภาคเอเชียและประเทศจีนเป็นอย่างดีทั้งยังเป็นผู้มีวิสัยทัศน์ทางด้านการค้าการลงทุนและยังเคยร่วมทำงานกับหน่วยงานระดับโลกอย่างเอเปกทั้งนี้ท่านเป็นเอกอัครราชทูตแคนาดาประจำประเทศไทยกัมพูชารวมไปถึงประเทศลาวอีกด้วยท่านเป็นท่านทูตที่มีความสามารถทั้งยังชื่นชอบหลงไหลในเสียงเพลงและเพลงที่ท่านผู้ชมกำลังรับฟังอยู่ในตอนนี้เป็นเพลงที่มีความหมายพิเศษต่อท่านทูตเรื่องราวจะเป็นยังไงนั้นติดตามได้ใน The Diplomat ช่วงหน้าค่ะ
So Ambassador, this song 45 years special meaning
Oh, 45 years. Well, you know, Stan Rogers is this well-known Canadian songwriter who died, gee, must be 30 years ago now in a plane accident. But he wrote all these iconic songs about life in Canada. And what his focus was always on ordinary people and ordinary lives and giving those dignity and respect. So 45 years for me, it's a song he wrote for his wife. And it's about how we've been together 25 years and I'm looking forward to the next 45 years with you, and it's very kind of romantic, and it's one of my Stan Rogers is one of my favorite Canadian singers. So,
and it's also the song that you dedicated to your.
That's right. That's right on our show.
So now, how long have you been in Thailand?
About 2.5 years. I came late October 2012. So it's been an interesting time. You know, all sorts of politically interesting and of course interesting personally as well.
We've been talking to you many times on several occasions, but this is the first for 2015. So what's the outlook like for Canadian-Thai relations this year?
That's a good question. You know, we're of course we have very good strong ties with Thailand, and I think there's been a lot of good development of business relations over the last year or so. There's been the Thai Board of Trade has been to Canada. A lot of private sector engagement. So on the commercial side, I think it's going to be very productive. On the political side, you know, there are certain limitations we have right now, as you can understand, and we're looking forward to Thailand having a democratic elected government so we can engage more fully the way we really would like to.
What about the Canadian community in Thailand in terms of the business or tourists?
Yeah, about business. We have about 8,000 Canadians in Thailand, and they range from business people doing investing here. We have companies invested here. We also have, of course, tourists coming through. We have people who retire here, and a lot of Canadian retirees, especially Chiang Mai. They like to go up to Chiang Mai, where it's a little bit cooler, and enjoy life there. They find, of course, the lifestyle very comfortable. They don't have to go through minus 40-degree winters, and of course we have a lot of people who come for the winter and then go back to Canada in the summer. But businesses, we have a quite active Chamber of Commerce. We have some big companies have invested here. Magna is an auto parts company, one of the biggest auto parts companies. It's invested all over Asia, but it has a production plant here, producing for Ford and a few other manufacturers. And Celestica produces electronic goods. Scotia, Bank of Nova Scotia, people don't know, owns 49% of Thanachat Bank. So they're in the financial services sector, Manulife, insurance. So it's a range. It could be a lot bigger. We'd like to see it be bigger, but it's a good start.
So now let's talk about your country.
Yeah. Okay.
Canada. Two official languages.
Two official languages, English and
French, and very cold and the big country, but people stay at the bottom of the country, right?
You're an experienced Canadian.
Yes, I lived there for 1 year.
All right.
Yeah, the majority of Canadians live along the border with the United States, or within 100 kilometers of the border. You'll find most of the population. I'm not from there. I'm from the north. I'm from a northern small town in northern British Columbia, so we were far away from every border. It's interesting you say very cold. Whenever I meet Thai people, they always say Canada is very cold and far away, and we're true about far away.
26 hours to get there.
It is. It is a long way. Not as far as Chile or South America, but a long way.
Yeah.
But we're also, for example, there's this image of us being cold and there's ice and snow, but we also, in Ottawa, for example, in the summer, it will get up to 40 degrees and very humid. So Ottawa is one of those cities that has about an 80-degree, shift in temperature, climate. The other thing, too, is Canada, while we do have a cold climate, we also have a very active wine industry. We have about $6.5 billion wine industry. We sell domestically, sell to the United States. We win prizes in Europe. We beat out the French in prizes in Europe. That's kind of fun.
But not much presence in Thailand, right?
Not much presence in Thailand. Mostly tariff barriers. High tariffs on wine, and so we sell some ice wine here. But getting production into Thailand is a little bit of a challenge because of the barriers, because of the high tariffs. So wine's very expensive. As you know, wine's expensive. Imported wine's expensive. So we're hoping that if we, when our Prime Minister was here in 2012, they talked about starting a process of free trade agreement negotiations, and we're hoping that these can move forward. And maybe we'll reduce the wine tariffs and we'll celebrate more with Canadian wine.
Another major export from Canada is the entertainers. Celine Dion, Ryan Reynolds, to name the few.
Ryan Reynolds.
But for most Thais, I think they will still have a hard time differentiating between Canadian and Americans because you're North America. But in fact, you're different, right? I mean, in terms of lifestyle and mentality.
I think a lot of things are different about us. And you're right, entertainers, because to be successful, you make it big in the United States. There aren't that many. As singers, Joni Mitchell or, of course, Neil Young, all these sort of iconic entertainers, all Michael Bublé, who was here.
He is Canadian,
he was here. And there's always...
Nelly Furtado, they sang together.
There's always Justin Bieber, too, but we don't need to talk about him. Anyway, all these entertainers, but they make it big in the United States. And that's... so that's why they're sort of not confused, and the Canadians sort of, they don't sell themselves as much as Canadians as they just, they're musicians, Hollywood. Right? They're musicians, and they want to make good music. So how are we different from the United States? That's a big question we have all the time. I think one thing is the linguistic duality, which doesn't mean that all Canadians speak English and French, but it's more of an awareness, especially from central Canada, the Quebec, and interestingly, the province of Quebec for many years had the tourism industry had their marketing in the United States was your nearest foreign destination. And I think what they were trying to get at is that Americans come to Canada, they don't really think it's foreign if they come to English Canada. But if they go to Quebec, they think, well, there's a walled city and everyone's speaking French. So they see it's more of a foreign, but more of a foreign sense to it. How we're different, I think, a few things. One is that, of course, we're not a big country. So we're middle powers, so the way we engage internationally is not like a big power. We have to make use of our assets. We have to make use of what we know well and use it strategically. And sometimes one of our strongest assets is a good relationship with the United States. So multilaterally, for example, we can, we work closely with the United States, but we can propose things because we're sometimes looked more trusted in the world. How are we different domestically as Canadians? one big thing I think is that it's kind of broadly the concept of the individual and society is a bit different from the United States. The United States is proudly individualistic, and they're supportive of freedom and everything. Of course, Canadians like freedom, we like democracy. But we have had, for example, a healthcare system, a public healthcare system for 50 years. So when we see debates south of the border about Obamacare, for us it's a bit mystifying. Like, why wouldn't you have a public healthcare system?
Exactly. Yeah.
Gun control. You know, the Americans. There's still, of course, we've seen a lot of terrible events in the United States, and there's an ongoing debate about control of handguns and control of firearms, and it's just not the same gun culture in Canada. We have had some tragic incidents recently too, of course, but the magnitude of per capita deaths by handguns, you just don't have, and especially these accidents where a child picks up a handgun and shoots his brother or something, you know. So that is again a different kind of context.
LGBT community too, it's a very comfortable environment over there.
We had, when same-sex marriage, our laws, we passed laws several years ago putting in place same-sex marriage in Canada, and we got a lot of, of course, people coming from the United States to get married. And what we did, it's interesting because this is, I think one element we're trying to promote. We are, I think, advocates for LGBT rights in the world. It becomes one of the cornerstones, one of the important parts of our foreign policy. And so here, last year we had a seminar at Thammasat University on LGBT rights, and it got a lot of attention. What Canada did, and other countries have talked about putting in same-sex marriage laws, so a separate law for same-sex partners. What Canada did instead was we just redefined marriage. So we changed it from being a union of a man and a woman to just, I think it's just two people, essentially. And once you change that, then all the other legal obligations and benefits are just fall into place because you've changed what a marriage is. So that's been, I think, something we're very proud of, and very proud of our role in trying to promote this in the world.
ในช่วงทศวรรษปี 1950 ถึงปี 1960 การเป็นคนรักเพศเดียวกันถือเป็นเรื่องต้องห้าม เพราะในหลายรัฐของสหรัฐอเมริกายังมีกฎหมายโซโดมีที่กำหนดให้การมีเพศสัมพันธ์ระหว่างเพศเดียวกันเป็นสิ่งผิดกฎหมายและมีโทษจำคุก และจุดเปลี่ยนของเรื่องนี้ก็คือเหตุการณ์ตำรวจนครนิวยอร์กบุกโซนวอร์อินทำให้ขบวนการเคลื่อนไหวเพื่อสิทธิของคนรักเพศเดียวกันในสหรัฐอเมริกาตื่นตัวอย่างมากและการจัดงานครบรอบ 1 ปีเหตุการณ์โซนวอร์ในปี 1970 ถือเป็นจุดเริ่มต้นของการจัดงานไพร์อันยิ่งใหญ่ในนิวยอร์กซิตี้และมีการเฉลิมฉลองกิจกรรมนี้ในเดือนมิถุนายนของทุกปีเช่นเดียวกับทางสถานเอกอัครราชทูตสหรัฐอเมริกาประจำประเทศไทยได้จัดงานเฉลิมฉลองพร้อมเชิญเครือข่ายกลุ่มคนที่มีความหลากหลายทางเพศมาร่วมพูดคุยกัน
Well, here in Thailand, the country has a good reputation for tolerance and acceptance. But what we do hear from the community, there needs to be more progress on public awareness, respect, dignity, and even legal rights. And we want to be responsive. We want to help our Thai friends reduce some of the bullying, some of the discrimination when it comes to employment or finding a place to live, and to live like people would like to live, with dignity and respect and equality. So we work with civil society and organizations to help them organize, to have good information, and also to celebrate and come together like we are doing tonight, celebrating LGBT rights. And this is our Pride Month that we do around the world every year to celebrate our achievements and to identify our needs and where we need to make more progress.
แม้ว่าประเทศไทยยังไม่มีกฎหมายที่รองรับการแต่งงานของกลุ่มคนรักเพศเดียวกันแต่อย่างไรก็ตามมีชาวไทยหลายคนที่พบรักกับชาวอเมริกันและเดินทางไปจดทะเบียนสมรสอย่างสหรัฐเนื่องจากในปัจจุบันการแต่งงานเพศเดียวกันเป็นเรื่องถูกกฎหมายใน37รัฐของอเมริกา
I work with UNESCO, the regional office here for Asia and the Pacific. We are working with UNDP and a number of other partners on the Being LGBT in Asia initiative to address bullying on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity. We've supported studies in Thailand and Vietnam. We just hosted an Asia Pacific regional consultation on this issue, and we've just launched a campaign which will be open until International Human Rights Day in December, which is called Purple My School, which is to get more schools engaged in discussing this issue and in addressing bullying on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity.
แม้ว่าในสหรัฐอเมริกายังคงมีหลายรัฐที่การรักเพศเดียวกันเป็นเรื่องต้องห้ามแต่ก็มีการส่งเสริมในเรื่องสิทธิมนุษยชนที่สิทธิของกลุ่ม LGBT นั้นเท่ากับสิทธิมนุษยชนส่วนในประเทศไทยนั้นกลุ่มคนรักเพศเดียวกันก็ต่างเฝ้ารอวันที่ทุกคนมีสิทธิอย่างเท่าเทียมกัน
และตอนนี้เรากำลังยืนอยู่ข้างๆสุภาพสตรีที่ท่านทูตได้กล่าวถึงนะครับว่าเป็นผู้ที่ท่านมอบมิวสิกวิดีโอเพลงเมื่อสักครู่นี้ให้นะครับ So Madam Chantal 45 years do you concur with the ambassador
What, that it's the best song ever? Or, no, I agree. It's very moving, and yeah. Stan Rogers is an artist that we both really admire.
Yeah. So Ambassador Philip seems to be a very romantic guy.
He is actually. He's the romantic one in the pair.
That's me, the romantic ambassador. Valentine's Day is coming. So.
All right. So beautiful house, Madam.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it a lot of undertaking to look after this property?
Well, I have to say we're very fortunate because we have wonderful people here who have been working for the Canadian government and helping take care of the house for a very long time, many years. So they make it easy. Yeah. So when we moved here, we put a few of our own touches on, but it is largely Government of Canada.
All right. Your brother's an artist, and we were greeted by his work actually as we entered the house.
Yes, he works in British Columbia, Canada. He works in many different medium, but the one that is very popular is cast bronze, and we have a couple of his cast bronze pieces here. One of them here is a table he made for me, saying. Canada's national animal symbol is the beaver, a very hard-working animal. And he said, well, if you're representing Canada all over the world, you must have a beaver with you. So he made a table of beavers with trees, branches of maple.
Rhymes with beaver.
Yes.
So, Ambassador, I noticed that this residence, you use a lot of green color.
Inside the residence.
Yes, inside the residence and outside, so many trees.
Yes, it's a very green. It's a green space. We really like it. It's quiet. It's secluded. So it's kind of intimate. The space itself, I like because it's not too big. It's a nice size, and so you can have gatherings here, and people feel like they're in someone's home. Sometimes, residences can feel very big.
This is very homey.
Very cozy. And that's the sense we want to convey of this, a very homey place, a place where we feel comfortable.
It's very color coordinated as well. All the furniture with the color of the painting.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, when we arrived, everything was white or beige, and so we wanted to liven it up a little bit and bring some of the beautiful Thai fabrics and colors in. So we had everything recovered to bring the painting in and soften the room a little bit.
So the painting belongs to the Canadian artist, right?
Canadian government. We have, in fact, the government has a bank of art, and so you can walls and walls of art.
So this is on loan.
Yeah, they own it and they distribute it to embassies and residences around the world. This is called Exodus. It's kind of a haunting painting by the artist is Stephen Lack. He's very well known. It has a kind of a haunting feel to it. People leaving. Some people. I think our daughter thinks it looks like a zombie movie, you know. But
Dead man walking.
Dead man walking. Yeah. But it's a very striking, and it's right over top of a pond. We have this internal pond, which has a story to it as well. Because
this pond.
This pond.
Is it a feng shui thingy or?
You know, I don't. It may have been. Yeah, this has been here for 30. We've had this place for 35 years.
Wow.
So, okay. But there was a dinner here many years ago of Nobel laureates, including Desmond Tutu. And Archbishop Tutu apparently fell into the pond after dinner.
So you have to keep it that way.
He's blessed the pond with his presence.
Baptized.
Baptized, yeah. Yes.
All right.ลูกสาวคนโตของท่านทูตฟิลิป Calvert นะครับเป็นนักประพันธ์ด้วย Your eldest daughter is a
my eldest daughter
is a poet.
Yes.
And who here is a bookworm? Both of you?
Everybody. The whole family.
Yes. Right.
But this is our Canadian shelf. These are all Canadian literature here. So we have some very famous writers like Alice Munro. Where's Alice Munro? She's here. Nobel laureate last year. We have my daughter's book of poetry. Buy many copies.
In English, right?
In English, yes.
Second growth.
Second growth. Yeah.
What's the synopsis or?
It's really about man and nature because second growth refers to she spent many years tree planting. So it's a lot about how we interact with nature and what we've done to nature, but it's also just some very real studies of families and people. It's very accessible poetry. So,
all right.
So
can we find in Thailand?
Not yet. We can find it on
from here.
From here. Yeah, we can make a reservation here.
We have also Denise Chong. Denise Chong is another Canadian writer. This is called The Concubine's Children. She specializes in writing about the Chinese experience, mostly the Chinese experience in Canada, but also Chinese experience in other ways too. And she's written a book about called The Girl in the Picture, which is about here it is here, this famous photo from the Vietnam War, and it's the story of this girl who moved to Canada and lived in Canada. Also. A book about the men who threw ink on the portrait of Chairman Mao during Tiananmen Square. One ended up in Canada, and so their story. So a very beautiful book she's written, all nonfiction. And she'll be here next month to do a reading in Nelson Hayes Library.
Can we have an exclusive interview with her?
Yes.
That would be great.
We'll set it up.
Perfect. All right.
Searching for a heart of gold. You keep me searching and I'm growing old. Keep me searching for a heart of gold. I've been a miner for a heart of gold.
The most important room in the house.
The dining room.
The dining room, yeah. Lots of functions are held here, I guess.
Yes.
You host lots of parties.
Lots of functions, lots of lunches, dinners. We can sit 24 here. It's a bit tight with 24. I prefer maybe 16, 18, so you can have a good conversation. But yes, it's a well-used part of the house.
Do you have Thai chef, Canadian chef working here? Or?
I have a Thai chef.
Thai chef.
Thai
Thai
chef.
chef,
Thai chef.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can see that you use so many mirrors in the house so that you can see the view outside.
Yes, the windows. We like to have. Well, that's what we like about this house is it brings the outside in. All the rooms you hear, the outside is part of the house, and so, and especially during the day, you know, you can see the garden. Really gives a nice atmosphere to it. And we have. Mostly, as I said, mostly have Canadian art on the wall here, or some Inuit sculptures. But we do have a Thai artist here too. We like to have one Thai artist, and that's
that one?
Adisat, yeah. Adisat Pompat.
So I met him on a tour of the, well, it doesn't exist anymore. V60, was it V64?
Probably,
The
yeah.
artists' community. So I met him and fell in love with his work. So I think the paint wasn't even dry when we brought
Oh,
it.
really?
And that's, I mean, to me, that's Bangkok in the rain. If you look at
Bangkok in the rain.
Yeah.
Bangkok street scene in the rain.
We can see the taxis.
You can see the taxi, the bus, you
I
know,
think there's
the
a
water.
tuk-tuk in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. A bit messy but beautiful.
Yes.
It is, you know.
Bangkok
like
in the
messy.
rain.
That's Bangkok. A bit messy but beautiful.
Yeah.
ไม่ใช่แต่งานศิลปะโดยศิลปินชาวไทยนะครับคุณมิกกี้มุมนี้มีงานจากประเทศจีนเยอะแยะเลยนะครับ
ใช่ค่ะ เดี๋ยวเราจะไปสอบถามภรรยาท่านทูตกันนะคะว่าเพราะอะไรถึงสนใจศิลปินจีน
Lots of paintings from China too.
Yeah, well, we spent many, many years in China. We met in China.
We met in China.
Oh,
That's true. I'd forgotten.
You forgot?
For the romantic.
I remembered. Just remembered. Yeah.
You can take that back. You're romantic.
Yeah. No, we met in China.
So each
20 years
painting
ago.
has a story behind it.
It does.
Yeah. Starting from that one, actually.
Well, that one down there, I discovered this artist and I just loved him because it's a snapshot. You know exactly where in Beijing you are when you see his paintings. I gave that one to Phil for his birthday one year. I then took him to the gallery and he saw this one up here.
Same artist.
Same artist, and he wouldn't move. He walked halfway into the gallery and stopped dead and wouldn't leave the gallery without that.
So yeah, what happened when you saw this painting, Ambassador?
It brings you back, if you've lived in Beijing, it brings you right to a specific place and a specific time. And so I spent, you know, this is called First Snow, and it's really the first, you know, winter and snowfall in Beijing, and the trees are, you see the trees are no leaves. There's someone on a trishaw down the road. It really, I think I found it just very evocative. It reminded me of times in Beijing and winters in Beijing, and it's a good memory.
Transported you back to your time in Beijing.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
That one is Chinese too, right?
Yes, that's right.
It is, and that was one that Phil rolls his eyes because we were leaving China the last time we were posted there, and I saw that painting, and I did the same thing with that one. I said, I love it. It struck me, and so as the van was being packed up, I brought something more home. But you're glad now, right? That I got it.
Well, it's lovely. I like that kind of red star, but done with thread.
We have an ongoing discussion as to whether it's a young boy or a young girl.
You can't tell. And your brother is a painter too.
He
so
is.
He's a multidisciplinary.
He is. Yes, he's very talented. He works in paint, pottery too. He used to teach pottery as well as the bronze. So. The piece downstairs is part of a series he did on animals.
Has he ever visited you here?
Not here, no. He's planning to come, but he now has a young family, 2 little girls, so they're just trying to find a time to come.
All right.
So you are quite an artist family because your daughter is the poet.
Poet.
Your brother
You love
is
art.
the artist.
Yes, yeah.
Ambassador, this isn't the Canadian brand though. But you're very proud of this car.
I like this car because, well, in fact, Toyota does manufacture in Canada as well, but not this. What I like about this is I think it's very Canadian in style, in the sense that, you know, a lot of embassies or a lot of people have big, you know, Mercedes or other huge cars. This is a modest, it's a Camry, but what I like about it, it's a hybrid. So Bangkok traffic, you know how it's tough. So often you get in the car and you sit, or you go very slowly. And so it's our contribution to not polluting Bangkok air, to saving energy, saving gas, and it's part of Canada's commitment to clean technology as well. So I like it. It's modest, does the job, it's not ostentatious, and it saves the air and saves money. So we're very happy with it.
Interesting.
Well, on behalf of Bangkok, we thank you.
You're very welcome.
Okay, Ambassador, I'm not leaving this room. Wow, I never knew that you have lots of Canadian wines.
We have a very vibrant wine industry in Canada, some in Niagara Peninsula, Ontario, and then in British Columbia too, in the Okanagan, which is kind of a small, dry microclimate there. So we have wines from both parts of the country here, all sorts of different varieties. We have Merlot and we have Chardonnays, all sorts of varieties.
Which grapes is the most popular?
That's a good question. I think they're all very popular. I think Merlot tends to be, people like the Merlot and all, but Chardonnay is very popular in Canada, a lighter drink, you know, sort of the unoaked Chardonnay is becoming very, very popular.
All right.
And we have some of everything here.
You mentioned ice wine too, yeah?
Ice wine. Ice wine, of course, is very different. It's wine that's been
very intense, sweet.
Intense and sweet because it's crushed in the winter. It's picked in the winter and crushed, frozen, so it's very intense. All the syrup is very intense, more expensive. But we're known for ice wine in Thailand, but we're not really known for our wines. So we always continue to promote our wine.
Keep me searching for a heart of gold. You keep me searching and I'm growing old. Keep me searching for
I spotted another politically correct corner.
Red and white, yeah.
The red and white. The couch.
Of course.
And the pillows. Yeah. So that's the color of the national flag.
That's right.
Yeah.
Red and white.
Yeah.
And we always, in fact, this is the 50th anniversary of our national flag this year, and on Sunday, it'll be 50 years.
15th of February.
Since we changed over to this national flag. It was quite controversial back in 1965 because it took away the British Union Jack was part of the old flag like the Australians and New Zealand. It became just this red maple leaf, white background, and the two bars which are supposed to be the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans.
Why maple leaves? Because you have so many maple leaves in Canada?
It's always been a symbol of Canada for many years. A lot of maple trees, there's maple syrup, of course, you know, and so the maple is one of those kind of symbols that makes people think of Canada.
So this is a very a huge space for you to throw a big party, madam.
Yes.
Yes, when we have done that, we've had, it's actually very nice. There are a few months of the year when it's nice to be out here, otherwise it's too hot. But we set tables out in the lawn.
You have a swing too over there.
We have a swing.
Yes,
lovely.
It's great fun, and certainly when we have parties with kids here, it's a big hit. The kids want to be on the swing. The adults want to be on the swing too.
Of course, I can see a nice Sunday brunch here.
Yes.
With some good music.
Yeah.
All right, so
it's great.
Thank you so much for letting us invade your privacy. It's our pleasure. It's our pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
ขอบคุณครับ และนั่นคือทั้งหมดของ The Diplomat ทาง Spring News ในวันนี้นะครับคุณมิกกี้น่าอิจฉามากนั่งเล่นชิงช้า
ดิฉันรู้ว่าคุณอยากจะแกว่งชิงช้าดิฉันนะเนี่ย
เอาให้ตกกันไปข้างหนึงนะครับตามธรรมเนียมของรายการของเรานะครับเราก็จะมีของชำร่วยมามอบให้กับคุณผู้ชมด้วยนะครับของชำร่วยก่อนเลยฮะคือ
นี่ไงนะคะจากประเทศแคนาดานะคะแล้วก็พอเปิดออกมาก็จะเป็นแก้วจากแคนาดาน่ารักมากเลยทีเดียวค่ะเป็นภาพใบเมเปิลด้วยนะคะแล้วก็มีสัญลักษณ์ของประเทศไทยเป็นแคนาดาไทยแลนด์
เป็นไทยแคนาเดียนมาร์กนะครับของขวัญจากท่านทูตมีให้กับคุณผู้ชมของเรา3ชิ้นนะครับถ้าตอบได้ว่าหนังสือที่ผมถืออยู่ในมือเล่มนี้นะครับซึ่งประพันธ์โดยกวีซึ่งเป็นลูกสาวคนโตของท่านทูตนะครับหนังสือเล่มนี้เนี่ยมีชื่อว่าอะไรนะครับ
เมื่อกี้ย้ำไปแล้วนะว่าชื่ออะไร
รอบนะครับผมตอบมาให้ได้นะครับตอบทางไหนครับ
ค่ะส่งมาได้ที่ Facebook ของรายการค่ะ www.facebook.com/diplomat ค่ะผู้ที่ตอบคำถามโชคดีนะคะก็จะได้